Buenas noches, everyone. For Telesur, my name is Reagan Deviz in Caracas, Venezuela. A look at this evening's headlines. The Bolivarian Revolution marches on. Grassroots Venezuelans brainstorm for the future.
Exchange ideas and strengthen the revolution.
Supporters of Argentina's Cristina Fernandez come together to say farewell to their president. And as world leaders produce a draft document at the COP21 conference in Paris, civil society protests. The details on these and other stories now. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has summoned the supporters of the Socialist Party to take part in rallies to boost popular power and morale. The aim is to look for ways to move forward from Sunday's election, which saw the opposition gain a supermajority. Telesur's Isabel Finbo was in Miraflores in Caracas to find out more.
The new National Assembly might not meet until January, but this is the first street assembly. Grassroots supporters of the revolution have come to debate, exchange ideas and strengthen the revolution.
It is the assembly of the people's movement, where it's us who guide where the ship goes, together with our president.
It's not 3 days since the Venezuelan Socialist Party lost parliamentary elections, but activists are back out on the street. The mood here, just down the road from the presidential palace in Caracas, is anything but sober.
We have 17 years of revolution in the streets. The streets belong to the people, and we're not going to leave them.
Meetings like this are happening around the country, as President Nicolas Maduro called on Chavistas to reflect on the electoral defeat that saw the opposition gain a supermajority.
In defense of our beautiful revolution, Chavez's people are in the streets because they can win the assembly. But they do not win the Chavista people. The Chavista people are going to be in the streets defending their revolution, as always.
The government hopes that meetings like this will help them reconnect with everyday Venezuelans. They have been criticised for being overconfident and complacent in the support of the people.
The people today have more strength than before, because we are not going to lose heart, we are not going to be scared off, no. We are going to have more strength to continue forward.
The optimism of the crowd belies the fear that when the opposition takes over the assembly, it will make sweeping changes to the social gains. But for now, they are defiant, optimistic and not going to take defeat quietly. Isabel Finbo, Telesur in Caracas.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has vowed to block an amnesty proposed by the winning opposition. The winning MUD coalition said that one of its first efforts will be to free about 80 of its leaders and activists jailed under Maduro's government. One of the most known names is Leopoldo Lopez, leader of the center-right party Popular Will, who was convicted of inciting violence during the deadly anti-government protests where 43 people died last year. Another is the ex-mayor of Caracas, Antonio Ledesma, currently under house arrest.
So I say this as head of state. I will not accept any amnesty law, because human rights were violated. And so I say, so I stand. They can send me 1,000 laws, but a people's murderers must be tried and must pay.
Another promise of the opposition winning party was to fire staff members and executives of the parliament's TV station, ANTV. To counteract this on Wednesday, the head of Venezuela's National Assembly, Diosdado Cabello, announced that the station would be handed over to its workers. Also, the Bolivarian Workers' Union has condemned the Venezuelan business leaders' request to revoke some laws included in the organic labor law. In a press conference, the workers praised the 3-year labor immobility decree announced by President Maduro. They declared themselves on permanent emergency due to the demands by the Venezuelan right wing to revoke fundamental laws that protect the people, such as the organic labor law or the Fair Prices Organic Law, among others. Citizens and popular organizations, supporters of the Kirchner policies in Argentina, have gathered in the Plaza de Mayo Square of Buenos Aires to express their support for Cristina Fernandez, who will leave office on Thursday. Supporters have been organizing the farewell demonstrations across social media for the past 2 weeks. Always with you and it was no magic were the slogans chosen to bid farewell to the president. On Thursday, there will be another demonstration when Fernandez will hand over the presidential sash and baton to President-elect Mauricio Macri. Further show of support is expected to take place on Saturday when members of some 60 organizations will meet again in the capital. And in a dramatic turn of events, Argentinian President Cristina Fernandez will not be able to attend Mauricio Macri's swear-in on Thursday. The decision comes after Macri requested that a court declare Fernandez's term over at midnight on Wednesday. Despite negotiations regarding the traditional ceremony in front of Congress, the president said she will not attend official acts since she would no longer be president on Thursday and could face accusations of infringement of title. Also on this Thursday, witnessed the resignation of Argentine Central Bank Chief Alejandro Vanoli, whose term was due to end in 2019. Like other public officials, Vanoli had been under pressure to step down after President-elect Mauricio Macri won the election. This resignation paves the way for Macri to dismantle capital controls and unify the exchange rate, a central plank of his campaign promise to liberalize Latin America's third biggest economy. The person appointed to replace Vanoli is economist and Congressman Federico Sturzenegger. Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa has received the honoris causa from the National University of Cordoba in Argentina.
Academic life, you find simplicity, love for the truth, usually the best of human nature. In politics, even though there are many good people just willing to serve, unfortunately, especially in Latin America politics, sometimes they tell us we are intolerant and that we are not Democrats. Revolutionary processes in our America, which are legitimately democratic, have had a non-democratic opposition. On the first day, they had encountered revolutions, obstacles, destabilization, a permanent boycott, and that is not being a Democrat. Unfortunately, you may find too often in politics the worst of the human nature, and that is why it is very pleasing to come back to the Academy.
Here's a look at what's coming up. World leaders produce a draft document at the COP21 Climate Change Summit, but there are serious challenges. This story and more next.
Caracas, Havana, Mexico, Quito, Washington, wherever the newsmakers will be there. From watch it on telesurtv.net/English, Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there. Rod stars G1 and Claudia de la Cruz are Rebel Diaz, hip-hop activists positioned within a history of political resistance through music. And you don't stop. They invite young people to express themselves about their social struggles. And you don't stop. Watch it on telesurtv.net/English, Telesur, wherever the news, you'll be there.
From London, an interpretation of current world politics as presented by the activist, writer and historian Tariq Ali.
The emergence of the United States as a global empire.
The world today. Only on telesurtv.net in English. Wherever the news, you'll be there.
It seems that the COP21 conference is making progress as an updated draft text has been published. After some delays, the 29 pages long document marks the first time that the French presidency of the meeting has pulled together an outline of a deal. On December 5th, negotiators from 195 countries agreed on a 48-page document, which was the summation of 4 years of talks that began back in 2011. However, this recent draft has significantly reduced the number of options on some of the most contentious issues. But as details are emerging, civil societies are saying that the proposal is not enough.
We are now a week and a half into this. We don't have agreement on a number of the most important issues. There is progress, there is reason for optimism, but As we just heard, it shouldn't be this hard, particularly when in every country we have strong support for strong climate action.
Well, the good thing is that we are, for the first time, talking about issues that are very important for the vulnerable countries. Things like improving the temperature limit from 2 degrees to 1.5 and including a mechanism for loss and damage in the agreement, so dealing with the impacts that we can no longer avoid. Now, the bad thing is that we can probably have a stronger temperature goal coming out from here, but we don't have yet the action to get there.
World leaders are in Paris for the final stretch of the COP21 negotiations. They now have a draft in their hands, with sections in brackets indicating areas of disagreement. But while negotiations continue, there are still some issues that have not been addressed properly, like climate migration and the impact of climate change on women.
But what about women's lives? When will women's lives also be costed and women's contributions be part of the economic model? And that fictitious economy is coming in the way of returning the economy to its roots. We need to rebuild nature's economies and recognize them. We need to recognize women's economy. It is still the biggest economy.
Women are disproportionately affected by the climate crisis. According to the United Nations, they make up over 3/4 of the 26 million people that are estimated to have already been pushed from their homes due to climate change since 2010.
Those events tend to displace millions of people. At the moment, we know that 27 million people per year are displaced within their own countries by natural disasters. So this is 1 person per second. On the other hand,
representatives from 195 countries are hammering out what they hope will be a landmark deal to keep the world's temperatures from rising further. But millions of people who have already been driven out of their homes by climate change just don't care. They just want action.
A lot of people on my islands, they are impacted by climate change. The rising sea level water is already taking a land away, and people have been relocated to other areas. And they find it very difficult to adapt to new situations.
Meanwhile, activists continue their peaceful demonstrations. Negotiators are hoping to lock down the details in the coming days. They have promised to include in the Paris Agreement support to those vulnerable communities so they can become more resilient to climate change. They have also committed to create programs to relocate those who find it impossible to stay where they are. Luis Arroyo, Telesur, Paris.
Also, the international peasant movement, Via Campesina, has been demonstrating in Paris against the impact of multinational food companies on small farmers and the environment. Dozens of protesters tried to force their way into the Paris headquarters of the international corporation Danone. They smeared red paint on the entrance and chanted slogans like "Danone is the enemy." Via Campesina says that the Paris Climate Agreement will benefit only rich countries and the transnationals who are already forcing millions of farm workers to abandon their fields.
by 2050.
Video online claimed to show a neighborhood in Aleppo, Syria, after it was bombed by airstrikes. It is not immediately clear who is responsible. However, some residents claim they were Russian planes. Others say the Syrian government committed the airstrikes. A bakery in the area was heavily damaged. One resident said that people were in line at the bakery when the airstrikes occurred. Ahead of international talks in Syria's future, opposition factions are meeting to discuss a united front on the topic of terrorism.
Summit in Damascus. And the atmosphere from the speeches of the delegates, a clear rejection of terrorism was voiced. But criticism of a gathering of Syrian armed groups in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was also heard. The delegates stressed that the opposition groups participating in Riyadh represent only themselves, and they cannot speak on behalf of the Syrian people.
Saudi Arabia is trying to create opposition in the line of its agenda. What is more serious in Saudi Arabia's attempt to legitimize the armed groups and to hide the fact that all of these groups are terrorist groups by giving them legitimacy to participate in the Rouhani conference?
And which is striking of second day was the increase of foreign delegations at the conference. Apart from the representative of Iran and Palestine and the Czech Republic in the first day, the second day witnessed the presence of the representative of Russia and China, in addition to Egypt, Sudan and Iraq.
The fight against terrorism and the completion of the political process to reach a solution to end the crisis in Syria is one of the most important prominent Iranian policies. In addition to that, Iran, since the beginning of the Syrian crisis, is working and will continue to provide economic support by all means to the Syrian people.
At the end, the participants in the conference emphasized collectively that they will not allow to anyone to represent the Syrian people abroad or any international forum, not in Riyadh or anywhere else, but who was in Syria and contribute in defending it. Hazm Abdullah, Daily Sur, Syria.
A petition to ban U.S. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump from entering the UK has thus far gotten over 130,000 signatures. Petitioners are now awaiting a written response from the government, saying that in the past, individuals have been banned from entering the UK for spreading hate speech. Trump has stood firmly behind his utterances that all Muslims should be temporarily banned from entering the U.S., despite harsh criticisms from both Republicans and Democrats. British citizens say his statements are nothing short of ignorant. Here now is a brief look at other news stories around the world.
The FBI has called the attack on the employees of the San Bernardino Public Health Department a case of homegrown extremism. The FBI said that Tashfeen Malik and husband Saeed Farouk were radicalized before they started dating. The investigation into the attack that killed 14 people is ongoing.
San Bernardino involved 2 killers who were radicalized for quite a long time before their attack. In fact, our investigation to date, which I can only say so much about at this point, indicates that they were actually radicalized before they started courting or dating each other online. And online, as early as the end of 2013, they were talking to each other about jihad and martyrdom before they became engaged and then married and lived together in the United States.
India and Pakistan have mutually agreed to resume peace talks as well as discussions over territorial disputes. The two countries have fought 2 full-fledged wars since gaining their independence from Britain in 1947. The last attempt at peace talks in 2008 ended after Islamist gunmen attacked the Indian city of Mumbai, killing 166 people. And Greek police forces have begun evicting people it deems to be economic migrants and not refugees from the Greek border at Edomeni. The authorities state the actions were undertaken in order to enable the functionality of the railroad tracks connecting Greece to Macedonia, which were reportedly blocked for weeks by those seeking entry to Europe.
Jose Luis Meisner, who stepped down as Secretary General of the CONMEBOL Confederation on December 4th, has given himself in to Argentine police. The U.S. Justice Department has charged Meisner with involvement in the FIFA corruption scandal. His lawyers have requested that he be kept under house arrest for health reasons. For more on these and other stories, please visit our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, my name is Regan Devines. Have a great evening. Bye.